This video is at the request of a few of my followers. A few people have asked me now for very specifically for a guide on Python. So here it is, my intro to Python. And so starting off this intro to Python, to me, the most important thing is why Python. If you watch my videos, you'll notice I use Python a lot. I can code in other languages, and I do code in other languages. But if you watch my videos, if you go to my GitHub, especially, it's like 90% Python, right? And so very simplistically, reason why I utilize Python as opposed to other programming languages is Python allows me to cheat. It allows me to do things that I can't do with other programming languages very simplistically and out of the box. And there's a very simple reason and explanation for that. It's very simple, right? So all computer languages, except for Python, are designed with something in mind. And that something in mind is that there is a base programming language. And that base programming language is computer language, which is very close to assembly language, which is very close to binary. So like computer language is just like all zeros and ones, right? And that's the base language. And then all computer languages, except for Python, are written to be more or less human interpretable within that, but they always get to the end result, which is computer language, right? And then, so what happens is that you write your code in HTML and Java and C++, etc. And then that code gets compiled, and then it gets translated back into machine language, and then all of this happens before your code actually executes. Whereas with Python, Python just skips all of that. It says, okay, so I'm going to be a translator, and then whatever you want to do, I'm just going to translate it into machine language. Do whatever you want. Like go wild. Do anything. I'm your personal translator. And then so to me, that makes Python amazing, right? Like every other language, it's designed again, like more on the scale towards machine interpretability than human interpretability. And that's why you have all the rules, like the spacing rules and things like that. And you do have some spacing rules within Python as well. Like you have like, inner rules and you tab rules and things like that. But these are the amount of spacing involved, and then especially like the amount of like special characterization is like a very like piping and things like that. Very minimal in Python as opposed to any other language. Looking at Python, to me, it's very simplistic and very simple to look at. Like it's all really plain English as opposed to other languages. And then so up front, bottom line, is like why Python and why getting into Python is it's designed to be human interpretable as opposed to machine interpretable. And then so next step beyond that is environments within Python. And then so you'll notice in that we've been looking in a Google Colab from the beginning of this, and in a lot of my instances I utilize Google Colab, right? And then so when it comes to Python, you have really two ways that you can run it: Google Colab, or you can run things locally in a local environment, and like in command prompt. And so if you run locally within a local environment, you're not actually coding in command prompt, right? I think that's kind of the step one. And then so why do I favor this overall in my videos, and especially my videos, things like that? This is just a more simplistic way, right? I don't have to deal with environments. I don't have to deal with folders. I don't have to deal with Notepad. It's all here. It's just Jupyter notebooks. I have everything that I need created here, ready to go. All I need to do is code within Google Colab. I can share this with you. I can go really simplistically here to share all of the code. I don't have to upload anything to GitHub. I like a lot of steps, right? And then so this is just far easier overall. But so if I want to do things locally, what does that process look like? Let's create like a hello world app in this instance. And then so in this instance, I create an app.py file for hello world. And then this is Python. I code it in Python. And then I just file, save as. And then I have a hello world folder here, right? And then so more importantly to me, then when it comes to coding, I think that it's more important to understand that it's a folder structure. It's more like you're dealing with a database as opposed to dealing with the syntax. Like memorizing syntax isn't going to get you very far. Understanding how all of this works and functions, and that this is ultimately a folder structure. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a folder, a hello world folder. And then within this, I have this, and this is a flat folder. But if I look at other apps, they're not 100% flat. They're definitely not flat in this instance, right? So if we open this, we have folders and we have subfolders, and then in instances we could have subfolders of subfolders, and then some of these folders are purposefully blank. Like it's okay for that first one to be blank. It's expected because things are going to go in there and load into there, right? And then that's kind of how that folder structure works. And then so understanding this folder structure, this backend logic, understanding command prompt, and then being okay with utilizing command prompt, being okay with utilizing Notepad, being okay with understanding exactly how this works when you're doing and you're searching. And then so, okay, if I want to get to this Hello World app, I can just copy the path here and copy address. And then if I want to change the directory here, I just CD, I have my address copied, and then now I'm in the directory where I want to be, right? And then so here I'm in the directory. And then if I want to now run the Python app that we've created, very simple, right? I'm in the directory. So I'm in the hello world. I'm in the folder. And then so once I'm in the folder and then understanding that folder structure, it's just Python app.py, the name of the file, right? I'm telling it that it's a Python file, and I named it app.py. It starts running. And then in this instance, I coded it as Flask. So if you know, like if you're paying attention, there's some extra stuff that I put in there, right? Because this is just simple hello world. And then here we go, hello world. Here it is, hello world displayed. And then this is all that it's doing, and it's an app. And I'm running this as a web app, right? And then so Flask is a part of Python. Again, Python is for cheaters. And then so what Flask does is Python is a back-end programming language. It's not meant to be a web programming language. It doesn't have capabilities to display as a web page or have this content. But so there's a Python package called Flask, and there's other ones like Flask or Django are the two big ones. And then with these two packages, or either of these two packages, I can create web-based apps in Python that look exactly like a web-based app and operate exactly like a web-based app, but they're not a web-based app. They're Python. And then so in this instance, to go through and then to stop this, I just command Control C in this instance, and then it's stopped the server in this instance that was running our hello world. And then if I refresh this page, all of a sudden we get an error, right? And then so we'll keep clicking that one instead of the command prompt because they look really similar. And then so I go back here, and then just one more time, I'm just going to type it in for you again, right? So Python app.py. It loads back up. I go back here to the same web page, hello world. Same thing, I'm not going to make that same error. Control C. Goodbye world. There you go. And so this is very simplistic introduction into Python. And then again, I'm staying away from the syntax. To me, the best way to start to learn the syntax and to understand and like to look at and visualize what is actually going on within this code that I'm doing here within Python is to actually go in and visualize and actually play around with it, right? And then what you'll realize within it is that it's all simplistic, and then it's again, Python is for cheaters. So it's all simplistic stuff, and then what looks like complex stuff is really just simplistic stuff with a big wrapper on top of it. So I'll give you this analogy here to end before we end, right? So with this function that we're looking at and that I've highlighted here, this manufacturing cost function. So I'm defining the function of manufacturing cost, which is X. And then I have number of workers and number of machines. Very simplistically, though, like all that matters is that this is this zero and this one, x0, x1, right? And so this is a matrix array. It's an array of two numbers, 0 and 1, and that is it. All of this is just wrapper on top of it. Number of workers, it doesn't matter. It's x0. Number of machines doesn't matter. It's x1. And then we have x equals x0 plus x1. So workers and machines is what x equals. And then so we have x0, x1, and x. Very simplistically, that's all that is going on within this. Everything else is just a wrapper. And then everything that we're doing here, we're utilizing workers and machines. We're just utilizing x0 and x1 in the instances where it matters and plugging them in all throughout this equation. And you can see it all comes back to matrix arrays, and then we're just changing our array in this instance, giving it different boundaries, etc. But it's all this, right? It's all x0 or 1 or 150. It all goes back to math, common numbers, matrix arrays. It's all the same. It's all math. And then so that's really it. And then very simplistic, right? It's just understanding the language. If you understand the language, then you understand how it works. And then to me, it's not important to memorize the syntax. If you took all of this away from me, as far as the syntax, it'd be hard for me to write out the syntax 100% and rematch it, right? Like I'm not that type of person that I memorize syntax for every single language. I don't have to memorize syntax. And that's to me the more important, the cerebral part of coding, and why I enjoy it overall. It's more of like an engineering task to me. So if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.